Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin just hit my exact price target towards the upside, wiping out this level of liquidity in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. But now that that has happened, we still don't really have a lot of liquidity immediately above the price anymore. In fact, we still have a lot of liquidity building below the price of Bitcoin, which is something that we need to pay attention to as the price is potentially starting to cool off a little bit in the short term after hitting my exact price target, while Ethereum is now flashing a new warning signal in the short term, while the price of Solana is continuing to play out this bullish divergence on the daily time frame. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, indicating a larger correction or a larger bearish market. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have a massive bearish divergence, technically still active on the larger time frame. So obviously not a lot has changed over the last one day on the weekly Bitcoin price charts, and something similar can be said about the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, because we're still actively playing out this smaller bullish divergence here on the 3-day time frame. And so basically, as I've already been saying every day over the last 1 to 2 weeks, I do expect either short-term bullish relief or maybe some choppy sideways price action here and there as the most likely outcomes, the most common outcomes from this shorter-term bullish divergence, and that will likely play out over a period of days or weeks. And obviously that has already been playing out very nicely here for around 2 weeks, and this could likely continue for a little longer in the short term. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, right now the price of Bitcoin is still in this sideways price range, bouncing around between this support and this resistance. First of all, this support is still sitting at around 85 to 86,000, and this resistance is still sitting at around 92 to 94,000. And so once again, not a lot has changed over the last one day on this chart right here. But if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, like I already talked about in my last 1 to 2 videos, we started to confirm a breakout above this level of resistance, which was sitting at around 89.9k here in the short term. And then, like I talked about in my last video, after confirming the breakout, we then technically saw one confirmation signal to invalidate the breakout. But considering the fact that they were trading above and then below and then back above that level, like I explained in my last video, once again, that level was starting to lose relevance. And so in other words, this level on the price chart is not as important as what it once was just a few days ago or a week ago, for example. And what was more important, that I also explained in my last video right around here, was the fact that we had a new level of liquidity building above the price of Bitcoin here in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, which was sitting at around 91,000, even slightly above 91,000, as you can see right here in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. So like I predicted in my last video, I said it's very likely that very soon Bitcoin will see a move up towards 91,000, maybe slightly above 91,000 very, very soon. And since I said that yesterday, obviously we've now exactly played that out as predicted. And so obviously the good news is that we did get to see a bit more bullish price action over the last one day. But the bad news is that we've already now wiped out that level of liquidity that was building at around 91,000, give or take. So now that we've already wiped out that level, obviously we no longer have liquidity at that level. In fact, we have a very small amount building at around 92,000 to 92.1k. But really, most of the liquidity right now is actually sitting below the price, building below the price of Bitcoin, really in between 86.5k to 86.7k. But also keep in mind that between the current price and that lower level of liquidity down here, of course, we have levels of support to watch out for along the way where the price could possibly bounce at. And overall, technically speaking, this short-term price structure is currently more bullish than it is bearish. Technically speaking, we have higher lows and higher highs, which is by definition bullish price structure. It's more of a bullish trend, at least here in the short term on the small time frames. And so as always, we need to consider all of this information, not just rely on one signal by itself. Of course, in my last video, that it was a very high probability that would hit around 91,000 due to the fact that the price was very close to that level already. We were sitting at around 90,000, so obviously not far off that level of liquidity, which means there's a strong probability, a very high chance of that actually happening. Whereas once again, right now, we're still a decent distance away from that lower level of liquidity. So that's still a price target to watch out for, still a level to watch out for in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. But for now, once again, it's not necessarily as high of a probability going to be hit that level compared to, for example, this level at 91,000 that I talked about in my last video. At least for now, those two probabilities are not really the same. And so honestly, what is a very likely scenario is that we're likely going to continue in the shorter term bullish trend, considering the fact that at least for now, once again, the short-term trend, short-term price structure is by definition heading in the bullish direction. And on top of that, remember, we still have a lot of resistance in between around 92 to 94,000. So it is actually quite likely that in the coming hours or days, we could soon come back up to retest this strong area of resistance and then expect a lot of struggle and possible rejections from around that area. And so overall, those are my predictions in the shorter term, and of course the bigger picture not changing over the last one day. And if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you use that first link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link below the video will take you to this page right here over on the 2bit crypto exchange, which by the way is a no KYC exchange and is an exchange that I personally use myself. And if you use that first link below the video, once again, it'll take you to this page where there's currently a Christmas trading showdown where there's a 1 million USDT prize pool. And so especially if you're going to be trading crypto anyway or preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well check this out. Take advantage of this right here to potentially claim some massive prize money using that first link below the video to 2bit. And remember, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But if you want another option out there, another exchange out there that I also use myself, then for that, check out the second link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, because that second link below the video will take you to this page right here where there's also massive bonuses, basically free money, which you can claim it using that second link below the video. For example, if you make your account complete KYC, you get a 50 USDT bonus on your account. And on top of that, there's deposit bonuses here. If you deposit as little as 100 USDT, you get a 100 USDT bonus on your account. If you deposit 10,000, you get a 1,000 USDT bonus onto your Pinex account. And so once again, a bunch of free money from the exchange, which you can claim it using that second link below the video to Pinex. So especially if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, or preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well check this out. Take advantage of this using that second link below this video. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and like I already said in my last video, right now the Bitcoin dominance is looking very neutral, and since my last video we've pretty much gone exactly sideways as expected. So overall, that's what I continue to predict moving forward, just in the short term, very neutral price action, not overly bullish or overly bearish for the Bitcoin dominance. And so that basically means a lot of the major altcoins out there on average will likely perform very similar to whatever Bitcoin is doing. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, we've just confirmed yet another candle close on the daily time frame above this level of resistance, which was basically previous resistance and is now likely acting as new support. And that's really sitting in between around 3,000 to 3.1k. And so once again, now expect support in that area in case we see any little pullback for whatever reason. And as for the next resistance to watch out for, pay attention to around 3.2k to 3250 as an area of resistance. And above that, I would expect more resistance at closer towards 3.4k. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at this area on the price chart here on the 3-hour Ethereum price chart, right now, as I've recorded in this video, we've technically just started to confirm a new bearish divergence in the immediate short term on these much smaller time frames. And so as we can see here, the price did push a little bit higher after that short term cool off from overbought territory. So once again, first of all, we hit overbought a couple of days ago, saw a slight little cool off as expected, and then that helped to reset the RSI out of overbought, giving us a little bit more room towards the upside. But obviously, it was only a small amount of room towards the upside. We quickly entered back into overbought with that next little push higher. And considering the fact that we did create a slight higher high in the price while creating lower highs in the RSI, once again, that is technically a bearish divergence. And so this is telling us that we're losing some of that bullish momentum, and maybe over the next few hours or days. Remember, this is only a very short-term signal, but just in the short term, for the next few hours or days, I would expect a bit more of a cool off, which means either a slight little pullback in the price or maybe some choppy sideways price action, basically just cooling off, losing bullish momentum, showing a little bit of weakness in the next one day or so as a very likely scenario. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the daily time frame, right now the price of Solana is continuing to play out this bullish divergence on the daily Solana price chart, which means continue to expect either a bullish relief in the price or maybe just some choppy sideways price action as the most common outcomes, the most likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. And obviously I've been saying exactly those words every single day over the last 2 weeks now, and right now this is continuing to play out as predicted, so I continue to expect the same prediction to play out. And we could find a little bit of resistance along the way, but really the next significant area of resistance to watch out for is in between around 143 to 147. And as for support, I'd expect a lot of support at around 125 approximately, and also potentially around 130 to 131 as another short-term level of support. And so overall, those are my predictions moving forward for Solana and the key levels to watch out for moving forward. So without wasting any more time, getting straight into the price of XRP on the weekly time frame. Technically speaking, we still have a massive bearish divergence not yet been invalidated on the weekly XRP price chart, so keep that in mind. Overall, still not looking too good, still not in the clear yet if we're talking about the larger time frames, but we are obviously bouncing from this major support here at around $1.80. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, obviously we're continuing to play out this smaller bullish divergence very nicely here as expected. And so once again, this smaller bullish divergence on the daily XRP price chart is still currently active. It is still playing out, which means continue to expect either a short-term bullish relief or maybe just some choppy sideways price action here and there as the most likely outcomes, the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. So like I've been saying every day over the last 2 weeks, obviously that's playing out exactly as predicted and will likely continue to play out a little longer, at least over the coming days, possibly even another 1 or 2 weeks. But remember, we can see this price action quite often during the larger bearish trend, as we've seen many times over the last multiple months during this much larger multi-month bearish trend. So keep that in mind. Once again, if we're looking at the bigger picture, we're not in the clear yet, but the short-term situation is still currently looking more bullish than bearish. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, now that we're breaking out above around $2 to $2.05, I'd expect support in this area, especially if we confirm this daily candle close ideally above $2.05, at least in the short term. That would be obviously a short-term bullish signal if that confirms. So once again, that is where I'd expect support. And remember, we also have a lot of support at around $1.80. And as for resistance, I would expect a lot of resistance in between around $2.15 to $2.20. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's a very similar situation for Chainlink. Technically speaking, we're not in the clear yet if we're talking about the much larger structure or larger trend on the daily time frame. But the short-term situation is that we're still playing out this bullish divergence, which is continuing to perfectly play out as predicted in the form of mostly a short-term bullish relief, which is following this choppy sideways price action after the confirming the bullish divergence. And so once again, as I've been saying every day over the last 2 weeks, expect either choppy sideways price action or a bit of a bullish relief moving forward in the next few days or in the next few weeks is a very likely scenario. So obviously that's all still playing out exactly as predicted a couple of weeks ago, and I continue to expect the same prediction to keep playing out. But it is worth mentioning that right now the price of Chainlink is running into my exact level of resistance, which is also where the price is perfectly starting to struggle at least here in the shorter term, and that's sitting at around $13.30 to $13.50. So once again, expect struggle or possibly even a slight little rejection from around that area on the price chart. But if the price can eventually confirm a breakout above ideally $13.50 with a daily candle close above that level, then in that situation, of course, that would likely flip into new support. And the next massive resistance I'll be watching out for is in between around $14.70 to $15. And if the price actually fails the breakout in this first attempt above $13.30 to $13.50, in that situation, if we see a bit of a rejection here, I'd expect a lot of support at around $12.70 to $12.80 approximately. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim the massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto no matter what direction the price goes here, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.